Welcome to Straight Talk on Retirement, your no-hype source for financial advice and making informed choices about your retirement planning. Get on the phone to talk today at 969-KTRS.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Now, here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, hello, St. Louis. Good morning, and welcome to Straight Talk on Retirement. You're live and local, St. Louis's favorite financial call-in show. I'm Jeff Lapidus, president of JBL Financial Services. Our offices are located in beautiful, cloud-covered, cool downtown Clayton, Missouri. I'm a 40-year veteran of the financial services area, a fee-based financial planner and wealth manager. And I'm joined this week and every single week by my very favorite oldest prodigal daughter, Erin, who also is a fee-based financial planner and wealth manager.
And I also run the health insurance side of our practice. We help our clients make smart choices about their money. The way we do that is by designing a game plan, a written step-by-step strategy, a real game plan that has several goals in mind.
First is to preserve, protect, and prudently grow the assets our clients have taken their entire lifetimes to accumulate. Second is to deliver a reliable stream of income, one that they can count on, so they can do all the things they'd like to do during retirement.
And third is cost-effectively addressing their health care needs, like helping individuals enroll in Medicare and choosing the right plan to supplement their medical coverage.
And then when they're done enjoying their assets during their lifetime, we show them how to pass them on to the people they love, whether it's their spouses or children, grandchildren, churches, or charities, whoever it might be. With Uncle Sam or the tax courts taking a big bite out of their money. And as their wealth managers, Aaron and I watch their money every single day to make sure they're staying on track. And that's why they call us the retirement coaches. Good morning, babe.
Good morning.
It's another wonderful day in the neighborhood. Well, first full week
of the new year.
Markets are up. Woohoo! We love that.
They are.
They certainly are, and hopefully you're getting invested, you're participating, you've gotten over the drama and the trauma of the 2010 elections.
2010? 2020.
20.
Whew.
I hardly recovered from the ones in 10. What can I tell you? We went 10 years.
The lost decade.
It's sort of like we're back in the Twilight Zone again. Biden's in office. Do. Okay, so before we start our show today, and just as a reminder, all the folks that we work with, all of our clients are folks that are like you. They're our listeners. They're 55 and older. They would like to retire or they're already retired. And as Aaron mentioned, we do create a game plan for them with the goal of having a fun and financially successful retirement.
That's right.
And there's nothing more fun than that.
Nothing.
And we're going to talk about some coaching sessions today. We're going to talk about rock stars in the rough.
We are not going to talk about the election.
We are not. We are definitely not going to talk about the election whatsoever because the thing is, it's over. It's done. That's it. Like it or not. Get over.
Well, yeah. There's nothing more to say there. Now we just need to move on with how we're going to navigate the waters as they are.
Well, it's okay. But I do think before we do that, I do want to I would like to make a couple of general comments that we've been making to clients because, as you can imagine, we have been receiving phone calls from folks saying, what do you think? What's going to happen? Should I jump out of the market? I mean, a lot of those calls today. Should I be buying gold? Is the world going to...
Buying gold. For who? Who are they buying gold for?
Not their wives.
Well, then I say no.
Okay, I don't.
Maybe for me.
I don't disagree. Hey, listen, I would be happy if you got some gold.
I walked right into that.
You just cruise right. Thank you, honey.
Here to set you up.
We will
Glad you can knock them down.
Let that one go this morning, but we know that
just hit her right out of the park.
Other people are listening, so it's good to know. And your birthday's coming up soon, so we can.
Is it not? Is it not?
We can have another fun family discussion, which is always fun. But
that's why they're called fun.
I mean, we can do that now, but it's not
discussions.
not like anybody's listening, right?
We could be like one of those morning shows and like sneak attack, get him on the phone.
That would be good. Your mom would like that. I know, etc. But so here's the I would say
I've thrown you off your game.
You certainly have, babe. What advice are we giving to clients? Well, this is what I have been saying to folks, and Aaron, obviously you're going to jump in here and not talk about gold of any form or value or shape or whatever it would be, but advice. But I would say number one is that we do see this happen typically every 4 to 8 years, and what happens is the U.S. economy continues to go. The markets right now are very set. To continue to expand and to grow. We do have a new administration. They will have new goals and objectives. We really don't know what they are yet.
But you know what we do know?
But we do know.
Just like every administration prior, they love to spend money.
They certainly do. And we also know that stimulus is something that makes the economy grow. And the desire and ability and continuing efforts of the Fed to buy this debt and keeping this economy liquid is also something that will make this economy grow and not contract. So with those type of things in mind, and with the reforms that have been put in place, we don't know how many will be retracted, but at least some have been put in place. We think the economy, we're bullish. That's what we want to know. So get invested, stay invested, look at your 401ks, look at your IRAs, make those contributions if you're eligible to do so. And stay in the game. Because you can't win if you're not in the game.
That's right. We have our first text question of the morn.
Beautiful.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Is now a good time to invest in silver?
Not if you're my daughter. Boyfriend.
No, I would not like that.
No, I don't think so. We could always bring everything back to the same subject.
I'm sure we can.
I happen to be very talented in doing that, honey. So
I have experienced several decades of that.
You're right. So we're talking about precious metals.
Precious
metals. Precious metals are supposed that many folks look at these as a hedge against inflation. I don't think so. I think we really need to look at more of the industrial use of gold, because at the end of the day, you can't take gold bars, gold nuggets, rings, or other. I didn't mean to say rings.
Trinkets.
Thank you. Trinkets, engagement rings. Trinkets, whatever they might be.
Wow.
And you can't take them to Deerbergs or Schnucks or whatever place that Aldi's, if you like, and use them for a means of exchange. That's just what it is. So hoarding gold, and then also, or silver, which is also where you're going to store it. You have to do it in a safe place. You have to pay somebody. You have to trust them, whatever we're doing.
Right, because when you are purchasing, usually if you're purchasing off the exchange gold, gold or silver or other precious metals, especially if you're purchasing an individual security, most of the time you are not purchasing the physical item. You're purchasing the mining company that creates it. There are a few investment products available that do specifically invest in precious metals. There's
exchange traded funds. Or you can buy the physical product itself and store it if you like. We have, I have a few little trinkets for you and your sister, as you know.
Right. My sister and I found the boxes more interesting at the time, but
Oh, no,
they're
those, those
buffalo coins.
Those buffaloes, they come in this beautiful royal blue velvet boxes, which we bought, and they're nice to look at, and they're pretty, and they're not worth as much as when I purchased them 3 years ago. But gold certainly has a lot of value, but mostly on the finger of somebody or around their neck, whichever it would be. So hopefully that doesn't answer the question, but we apologize. We're just not gold bugs, right? We're not.
We are not, and I tend to think that if you were going to research gold, that you would not just go to the individuals who discuss gold, the experts, if you will. My dad calls them the gold bugs. The reason for that is they are highly focused on gold, and unfortunately, I think that they leave a lot out in their analysis. They really look at gold in a vacuum, whereas, if we looked over the last year, you would think that gold should be as high as it's ever been, as high as it's ever going to be, with
Right.
all of the liquidity dumped into the market. And that's really not what happened. What ended up happening was the dollar became more valuable for a number of reasons. So before you make any investment decision, you definitely want to look at multiple sides. But I would say specifically in that arena, it seems like, they've been entrenched in their ideas for quite a long time. So you want to see other people's perspective before you make large investments.
I'm listening to you, babe. I like that. So in either case, again, we do want to remind folks that, even though we got a little sidetracked there, that there are ways to keep in touch with us during the week if you like. Primarily, it's going to our website.
That's right, jblfinancial.com.
And what are you going to do when you get there?
You can click on the Contact Us section in the upper right-hand corner and send us an email, a question, a request for a coaching session. Or you can click on the lower left-hand side of the screen where it says sign up for our monthly Coach's Corner newsletter, and we will send that out to you every single month.
It's fun and it's free. There are 4 articles that we highlight different issues each month. Erin and her staff do keep the last 6 to 8 months of those archived for your viewing, printing, or downloading convenience. Let's skip talking about it today. Maybe if we do,
my goodness,
more people will just go to our website and subscribe to it.
That is a great idea. And the one other thing about silver, I was thinking why the texter asked that question, aside from gold, is usually because less expensive and tends to have a higher return over time.
Yes.
But still same principle on precious metals.
Yes, I don't disagree with you, and you are my most precious one.
Isn't that sweet?
Yes, it is. Thank you. So let's get into some.
After the lashing just received.
No, I would think that some people might think of that as encouragement, like your mom.
One.
Exactly, one person. We are eccentric, right? So, well, good. So let's get into talking about rock stars. We find that rock stars, and that is, again, we define rock star as someone that has more income or capital or cash flow than they need
to make their life work in retirement.
And they're really in the safety zone. We think of a safe withdrawal rate, something that can be sustainable over a long period of time, it's called the 4% rule. We have found that over the last 20 years, sticking by that rule puts us in a position where, even in up and down markets, folks should be in a position where they can continue to draw that percentage over a long period of time. And there have been scientific things, Monte Carlo simulations, that show that that's true based on assuming that you have a appropriate risk tolerance, which you always should be for yourself. But folks are coming in, and a lot of times they look at us and say, I hope that I'm a rock star.
Right.
Let's figure it out if we are. So if you don't mind, I'd like to start with Erin, because I know you had a very good one yourself. And interesting is these kind of happened at the same time, because I was in a coaching session with someone, and so was Erin with somebody else. We happened to be double booked in that hour. And so I'm going to go with mine first, because I don't know, I'm dad, so I'm going to go first.
Well, that's just fine with me.
Well, thank you. I met with Bob. Bob happens to be 62. His wife is 60. Sally, she wasn't at the meeting. But Bob works for a commercial contracting company. He actually is one of the part owners. And Sally is retired. And recently, Bob sold a very large piece of property, and he netted about $1 million from after loans from this purchase. What's interesting to me, and again, I'm finding this from my experience, because I have many friends, good friends at this point, that are business owners, contractors, etc. These guys are smart. They work in the trades, and what happens is that I find that most of them really are extremely educated and make good decisions in the real estate market. So figuring out that he had this nice windfall gain of a commercial property that he sold wasn't really, wasn't unusual for me. In looking at his other assets, though, he only had about $250,000 of retirement assets. So coming through this recent sale, he had 2 primary questions, right? Can I retire? And when can I retire? Am I really a rock star? And that's one I just put in there, question number 3. I just don't want to. So Bob and Sally basically have about $1.25 million of assets.
So that's their retirement savings plus the sale of that property.
Yes. And
which kind of makes them unique in the sense that the majority of their assets are outside of their retirement plans.
Yes, it is. And we had a long conversation about that because obviously the more assets that you have outside your retirement plans, the greater ability you have to reduce maybe the taxable consequences of income or money that you might draw from those accounts because you already pay taxes, right?
Right.
Which is kind of cool. I do want to add two other pieces of information, which are going to be important to our story here, which is that Bob and Sally had a mortgage on their existing home of about $300,000, and that their monthly mortgage payment, not including taxes and insurance, they didn't escrow. I didn't like that idea, but they don't. They don't escrow, and their mortgage payment right now is about $1,500 a month or $18,000 a year. Bob also mentioned to me at the beginning of our meeting that he was on the advisor tour. I was number 4 advisor that he was visiting with.
Wow.
Yeah, I was the 4th advisor he'd gone to visit with.
Did you ask him why he was still going?
No.
What was he missing from the other 3?
No, I just think that what he wanted to do was to get a good cross-section of opinions to start with. And actually, this is what I want to talk about today is our second visit because I did see him the other day.
Oh, nice.
And I was expecting to see his wife with him, but she didn't come. So that kind of clued me into the fact that he wasn't really quite ready yet.
Or you're like a semifinalist.
Exactly. So we're in the final 3 as it would be, and which is fine. And he said, "Can I retire?" And I said, we talked about this last time, and one of the nice things that we do for the folks that come to visit with us is that we have a 6 by 8 foot electronic whiteboard.
That if you can't see it in person, we can project it onto your computer screen.
Yes, we can.
If you're Zooming us instead.
And we play This Is Your Life.
That's right.
We're actually going to create that game plan right in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what's important about that is that as we're putting the information on the board, and we're really talking about looking at the cash flow and determining whether he has enough cash flow and assets to be a rock star, you can question the assumptions.
Right.
And frankly, it becomes very real. And at the end of the day, as I've said over the last 15 years of being here on the air, this is an algebra problem. It's no more simple than that. It's truly an algebra problem. So the algebra always starts with how much you're currently spending. So we found after grossing his money up that he needed about $8,500 a month. That's what he said today.
So that's with taxes.
That's including taxes.
Okay.
Now, what we like to do, we think it makes sense, is we like to say, let's start at the end.
Right.
And the end really is
when all of your income is coming in. You're eligible for Social Security, and you're taking it. If you had pensions, and you're taking those.
All the faucets are on,
right.
As we like to say, right? And in his particular case, because he's about a year younger than I am, it was at approximately 66 in 6 months.
So that's 4 years from now. Exactly.
And his wife was a couple years younger, and so hers would be a little bit longer. But when we get to the end of where all the faucets are on, we know that he wants $8,500 a month of cash flow net. He's going to receive $3,000 a month from his Social Security benefits. His wife was only projected to get $1,100.
No.
We corrected that.
She's going to be able to get $1,500 at her full retirement age as long as Bob is taking his, which he will be.
And Bob didn't know that, so he was really happy to find out.
400 extra bucks.
He was happy to find that out. So
you didn't win that based on that right there?
Well, we don't know, honey, but I think that we probably did. I think there's a good probability there. Also, we found out that Bob did have a pension from previous union involvement he was in before he became a business owner of about $1,500 a month. So with all those cash flows put together,
so they have about $6,000 of guaranteed cash flow, meaning they only need about $2,500 a month.
Exactly, which is $30,000 per year. So when we were figuring out how much capital do you need to generate the milk money, which is really what the deficit amount here is, we like to say we take $30,000, we divide it by 4%. And that tells us that we need approximately $750,000 of capital. Sounds good, right?
That's right, but
Bob's got 1.25, so wee.
Even better. But then I'm sure, since Sally wasn't in the room, Bob said, "But Jeff, I'm only 62."
Exactly. So he said, "What do I do bridging the gap?" I said, "Well, that's fine." So again, we went up to the board. We said, "You want $8,500 a month? That's fine. You're still going to get $1,500 starting now with your pension, so you'll be short about $7,000 a month." Over 12 months, that's $84,000. times 4 years, that's $326,000. So I said, Bob, again, here's what's cool. Let's just assume no interest earnings, no growth. Let's just assume zero. It's like the money's just sitting there in a bank account. It's earning, well, if it was in a bank account today.
It's literally sitting in a bank account.
Like it is today, earning nothing.
Right.
No growth, no decline, no interest. And that's obviously about as conservative as you can get. So over that 4-year period, we know that we would have to be giving Bob about $326,000 so that he and Sally could make it to Social Security. So,
and they have 1.2.
Exactly. Again, if you take $750,
mm-hmm.
the milk money he'll need after the faucets are turned on,
right,
and $326, the money that he needs beforehand, guess what? He's still, like you said, honey, he's still a rock star. They still have more capital,
right,
than it takes for these two time periods. So, woohoo!
It's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. But then we got down to the interesting discussions, right?
Okay.
And to me, one of the big ones, and one that you and I talk a lot about with folks, and I know you're going to talk about with your coaching session, is about indebtedness. In his particular case, the mortgage.
Mm.
Now, he's making a very good living today because he's living off of, in theory, $8,500 a month net. So he's paying taxes. He has a mortgage. He's able to itemize deductions. So this seems to be very important. But when we get to retirement, we have found that the general rule, or I call it one of the dad theorems, right,
mm-hmm.
is the lower your outflows, the more valuable your inflows.
Right. So Bob and Sally still have a mortgage of about $300,000.
Right, which is running them $1,500 a month. So I said, Bob, let's think about this as an option. Let's say that because you have this cash sitting here today, it's earning nothing.
And also, it's not tax. You already paid taxes on it.
Exactly, like most folks who have all their money in retirement. I'm like, You're in heaven right now, my friend.
Because 300 is 300.
That's right. So if we took that 300 and we paid off your mortgage, and we could do it today, or we could do it the day you retire.
Right.
That'll reduce your outflows from $8,500 to $7,000.
Because we only took out the actual mortgage payment. Obviously, there's going to be taxes and insurance that go forever.
Right, which is already inside of there, which is cool. He's still going to have the $6,000 of inflows. They're not going to change, right? His Social Security, her Social Security.
Which means he'll only need $1,000 a month.
Right. $12,000 a year. I'm laughing because it's kind of funny. And then you say, well, how much capital do I need to generate the milk money? Well, 12,000 divided by 4% is only 300,000. Wow. So if we go through this scenario and we say, okay, fine, Bob, you pay off your mortgage today. We send you cash flow for the next 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Then you only need, et cetera. After that, what does that look like? Well, he's got $1.25 million.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we're reducing it by $300,000 on the front end in theory, or we could wait for 4 years and do it. That's fine. Mm-hmm. He's still going to need $216,000 if we did it today
to bridge the gap.
To bridge the gap, which is $744,000, but he has $1.25 million. No interest, no assumptions whatsoever. You know what that gets, right? Woohoo!
Also, this is pretty cool because
he's a rock star.
This is a pretty cool one because usually we are scheming, and I would call it scheming, as to
strategizing
as to how to pay the mortgage off
right
in a tax efficient way. Because it'd be great just to throw a lump sum at it,
sure.
But for most people, and I can think of
90% plus.
Right, and I can think of a handful of clients who took a large distribution at the end of this year and literally took another distribution on January 4th because they wanted to pay the mortgage off, but they wanted 2 separate tax years in order to do it.
We made a decision with them that, in terms of making it as tax efficient as we could, we had to spread it over 2 years, and sometimes it's 3 years. Right,
or sometimes it could be even more than that, just depending upon the size of the mortgage or your size of your income, whatever that might be. But the cool thing here is Bob and Sally just have a decision of time.
That's
when do they feel like doing it? Obviously, Bob's cash flow right now through work is supporting the mortgage payment. And like you said, maybe they're able to itemize their deductions, so they might keep doing that. Or they might say, we'll throw big chunks at it until we're done. It's just time as opposed to a real tax strategy to have to make this happen.
Absolutely. I mean, the beauty of having the capital available for you and then be able to have that decision of paying it off when you want certainly is great flexibility. And my suggestion to him was, and I said I would encourage you, and maybe when we meet with Sally the next time, to talk about when it makes sense to do that. I mean, if you really are going to leave your employment, your income's going to drop.
Right.
You're going to be sitting there with $18,000 of income from your, from your pension, right? So guess what? You're not going to be in any tax bracket, brother. You're not going to be able to itemize.
Right. And also with $300,000 left on the mortgage, I'm guessing they're probably getting close to the end anyway.
Yeah, or closer.
Right. Well, just assuming their income, usually their house is a little bit larger, I would guess.
And what's also interesting is that most people are thinking, it's like, they'll say, well, let's say they have a small balance. And we see this a lot too, right? People have 30, 40, 50,000 left. I mean, they've really paid down their mortgage over a period of years. They're getting towards the end. And then they're like, oh, well, my rate is only 2.4%. I'm like, no, it isn't. Of nothing, right? Because if you're looking at it, most of those principal payments at the end are really principal.
The bank took the money up front.
Yeah. I mean, you're paying most of the interest up front.
They took their interest up front.
Yeah. And they're still unable to itemize even though they have these mortgage payments. But that was kind of that was kind of a discussion where I said, you're going to have to see how you feel. I mean, the moment that you actually do retire and you're not getting this income flow that you're getting from your work.
Right.
And you're only getting $1,500 a month
from the pension.
We're going to have to send you $7,000 a month. It doesn't matter about the taxability here. It's still $7,000 a month. Is it going to make you feel more confident, more secure in us sending you $5,500 a month,
right,
or us sending you $7,000 a month, which is paying off the mortgage? And
I also think
that's important.
This coaching session speaks to a greater need for many people in retirement, which is building up after-tax capital.
Yes.
We talk about that in a lot of cases where we see individuals, we go through the math just like we did with Bob and Sally, and you need X, you have Y inside of your retirement accounts, and we believe we can supplement your income at this point with that amount of money. Maybe it's time to stop stocking money away pre-tax, start, unfortunately, biting the bullet now, paying the taxes on it, so then you have the flexibility that Bob and Sally have in the future. Maybe we're not looking to pay off a mortgage, but there are a lot of other things that come with pretty hefty price tags, and instead of $20,000 being 30 or more, it really is just $20,000 when you're taking it out of an after-tax account. So, not everyone is going to sell $1 million building, but there are ways to strategize on how to create a mix of assets for yourself, and that's part of what we do for a lot of people pre-retirement, because people think, oh, I don't need to visit with anyone until I'm retired, or a month or before I'm retired. But for a lot of people, we're working with them 2-3 years in advance because there are things we can do to make it better. It's already going to be great, but what can we do to make it better? And,
if we were to take, let's just assume for a moment here, we won't go over this point too much more, but let's assume that Bob was actually, I don't know, let's make him a year or a year or two older.
Jeez.
And he says, I'm going to quit.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to get my pension.
Mm-hmm.
What about Social Security? That was a big deal, which is, should I wait? Should I put it off to 70? Should I whatever? And my answer to him was, it doesn't really matter. It truly doesn't. I mean, he has enough capital at this point to make his life work. If he begins to draw his Social Security earlier, the number will be less, but at the same time, we'll also be pulling less income from his retirement assets. Would that make him feel more comfortable? Yes. Would paying off his mortgage make him feel comfortable? Yes, no, maybe.
And then also, this is a reason why we need to see Sally, too, because what would make Sally more comfortable? Pulling more from retirement assets to start, or knowing that her benefit is going to be as large as it can be if Bob predeceases her, because for married couples, that's really one of the most important things to consider, which is, we're both alive. How do we make our lives work? But if one of us passes away, will the other be able to maintain their lifestyle? Because in this particular scenario, Sally's going to lose $1,500. So is she comfortable with the lower benefit? And then
you're saying it should
Bob predecease her.
Right.
Then she's going to lose the $1,500 and take over Bob's $3,000, which is great. But she still loses the $1,500.
Which was her Social Security
right.
benefit.
So is she more comfortable saying that's okay for me to have a lower benefit if Bob predeceases me? I'm willing to maybe have to pull a little bit extra from the retirement plan. So that's another reason why we like to see both couples, because they can have very differing opinions on comfort.
Yeah, I mean, and really when we think about overall income tax planning, this is a very different case. We know that at the end of the day, they'll have cash flows from pensions and Social Security. The Social Security benefits are going to be taxed at no greater than an 85% of it being subject to tax.
Right.
The pension is subject to tax. They still have a little bit of room. We're assuming it's taxable. It doesn't have to be. I mean,
right.
on the front end, I mean, what's neat with these guys is that they're in a position where, truthfully, they could let their retirement assets grow, income tax deferred, hopefully, assuming that they would, until they hit 72. I mean, for Bob, that's like 10 years. Cool, right? And they could draw off of non-retirement assets. Or alternatively, we could create a combination of the two to make this happen so that it's tax efficient. So there are a lot of moving parts in these decisions, but what's neat for them was, at least for Bob, and he left he was smiling when he left. Maybe it's because he was leaving, he was smiling. But we put it up on the board.
Yeah.
It was right in front of him. We tested he said, well, Jeff, what if I do this? I'm like, great. Let's draw the numbers again. It isn't that difficult to do. What we were going to invest in for him
comes next.
Was irrelevant to the conversation. I mean, truly, it was irrelevant to the conversation because at a zero rate of return, at a zero interest situation, and let me even take it a step further. And this is what I did with him because I could tell he was, whatever. He was thinking about things. If he paid off his mortgage, as I recommended or suggested to him to consider, assuming they earn no money, again, interest-wise, and we talked about again, is that he would have about $744,000 of capital available to him when he got to Social Security normal retirement age.
Right.
He needs, at that point, $12,000 a year.
Right.
$12,000 into $744,000 is hello.
Like nothing.
It's nothing. It's another 60 years. You're not going to run out of money. That's the ultimate rock star. You aren't going to run out, even if it was sitting in the bank. Now, we know we're not going to do that.
So
we know it wouldn't be prudent.
It would not be, but at least it provides a comfort. I think that we need to create a new segment. I don't know.
Okay.
I do not exactly know what we need to call it.
I'll figure that out.
Thank you.
Okay.
But I am going to make a super exciting announcement.
Beautiful. That
Bob and Jody paid off their mortgage yesterday.
Oh, there you go.
So we happen to know this particular Bob and Jody, but you know what? I really feel like if there are people out there that have been working on debt or working towards something, even
yes. Some financial
goal that they have that was either preventing them or walking them down the path towards retirement, meaning we need to get this done before we can retire, you should text it in to us and we will announce it, because I think that we've seen this.
What a great achievement.
We've seen this time and time again with our clients, with prospective clients, when we talk to them about these are the things that need to happen before you're going to feel comfortable in retirement, or you're going to have that comfortable retirement that you're looking for. Once the ball gets rolling, it's addictive, and they are committed and focused. And when
it's exciting,
it's super exciting to see it come to fruition. Talked to other client yesterday who they planned to move down to Florida. They moved. They found a house. He found a new job. It's just like everything was falling into place. So I don't know what we call this segment, but if people want to text in with their cool retirement achievements, I would love to read them out loud because I think, one, they're inspirational for other people because everything is so doom and gloom about retirement. When you read it on the financial side of things, it's like you'll never be able to retire, you're going to live in a box, and like Social Security is never going to be there. Well, look at all these great people putting in all the effort to do what they want to do and be able to, live the retirement that they want. Other people should hear about that.
Honey, if you don't mind, because this was such an important thing for them, and obviously these are clients of ours, and
or maybe.
Well, they are. Well,
or not.
We couldn't be more proud.
Right. I hope they hear in our voice.
Right. I mean, we couldn't be more proud, and we couldn't be more happier for them. I mean, we're proud of the fact that we take pride in the fact that they took our advice and that it actually worked, which was great.
Right.
And now they're in a position where they can move ahead. So let's use an example. And obviously, our last Bob and Sally, they had a lot of assets.
Right.
And a lot of folks don't.
Right.
But think about it in this way, and this is why this is so pivotal. If Bob and Sally's income needs weren't $8,500 a month, and let's assume they didn't have a pension, they were maybe $5,000 a month,
and they still had that $1,500.
And they still had that $1,500 a month mortgage. We want to think about this is that we know that, as we just discussed in a little bit earlier, for us to prudently withdraw $12,000 a year using a 4% rate of interest.
$420,000.
Actually, $300,000. 3 4 is 12. So what happens is that $300,000 of their assets were being, I like to use the term, held hostage to that mortgage payment. If Bob and Sally only had $500,000 or $600,000 of investments, they might not be able to retire. But by paying off that mortgage, that helped them get there. And in many cases, with many folks, that's why we do talk about, you were talking about specifically, Aaron, maybe if they are working at normal retirement age, guess what? They do take their Social Security to use it to get rid of these obligations because, especially in our friends who just texted us or messaged
I just hate to correct you here. It's $1,200 a month over 12 months is $18,000, which is $450,000.
Thank you, babe. You're right. I was going back to the 12.
Yes.
You're right. I was going back to the 12,000 or 1,000.
So I mean, doesn't that make the math sound even better? Do you want $450,000 of liability essentially because that's what
assets being held hostage,
or just a $300,000 liability?
Right. It's
dispense of the liability.
Yeah, it's easier to pay off debt than it is to grow capital. That's what our clients bought into, and what's kind of neat is that they'll be in a situation, we have several of these, where that payment was the linchpin. We were able to remove that. Then what happened is all the rest of their capital, like in this case, so you were talking about, if it took $420 to make this monthly payment instead of $300 of debt, if we paid off that $300, we'd have $120,000 of capital extra that's now available for income purposes, right, which it wasn't previously. So these are all important things that we love to discuss during coaching sessions with folks. And the cool part again is we're not taking this information and say thank you and putting it in some computer. I mean, the truth is that we can do it right in front of you because it really is simple algebra. Designing the investment strategy, which will then help you deliver the results, that's the art part. Mm-hmm. And that's frankly how we get paid. Right? I mean, that's what it is.
We have another good text question here.
Beautiful.
I realize this must be answered in a generalized way. What is the main factor in the substantial growth of my retirement accounts in the past 12 months? I'm 69 and my accounts are low risk. Well, we would say 99% of your return is based on your mix.
Right, which is your stock portion versus the bond portion. Because the bond portion could have gone up 3 or 4% this year because there really was no appreciation on that side because interest rates didn't fall any further. Mm-hmm. But again, it's probably, you think of yourself as low risk. We can't answer that question. When most people think of low risk, they think of having more than 50% or more of their assets in fixed income securities, and you may not be like that. but it's always
right.
always based on your mix.
Risk means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. They could
Right.
be entirely invested in utilities. Well, that's not considered low risk. It's just a utility equity. So
Right.
different.
Or people could be invested in, let's say, something that was tech, but it's large cap tech, which isn't going away. Maybe like a company that might have stores around different malls and things like that, where they feel like that's really solid. They used to call these blue chips.
Right, but that's not the same thing as risk.
That's right. Again, risk is based on risk of loss, risk of
Many types of risk.
Right. Inflation risk, there's principal risk, there's geography risk, I mean, all kinds of risks. So,
Default risk.
but the risk is not having a coaching session. Not
Yes.
sitting down with someone, either, obviously we're here to help folks,
Mm-hmm.
or your own advisor, if you have one, and saying, walk me through the numbers.
And not only, I think another risk would be to not be prepared for what you might hope to get out of that relationship with a financial advisor.
Absolutely. Expectations, right?
That's right. So we thought we would talk about being prepared. I guess we heard from Bob and Sally, who are on the advisor tour. They're kind of like, I think there are two different types of people in this world. They're like people that flip channels, and when they see something that they like, they just stop. Like,
Right.
good, this is enough. And then there are others who are like, there's could be something else. And then they're just like clicking through more and more. You may go back to the first thing, you may not.
Right. Well, they're shoppers.
Okay, that's another way to put it.
And what happens is that there obviously is some criteria that they have.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully they have that, so they can actually make a decision. So
The first thing is, what do you hope to get out of the relationship that you're
Right.
trying to form here? Because we think of it as a relationship. It's not like a bank teller, which it's transactional. We're thinking of it as we form relationships with our clients.
it's a consultative thing. It's a
Exactly.
coaching relationship.
Exactly.
Uh,
What are you looking for?
That's right. I mean, are you looking strictly for investment advice, or are you actually looking for?
Financial planning advice. So that would be things that include when to take your Social Security, pension elections versus lump sums. How do you manage your debt? How are you going to help pay for college education? Do you want to do that? Is that something that you are planning for your children or grandchildren? That would include estate planning and charitable giving, and then also the foundational work of a financial plan, which would be insurance planning to ensure that all of your assets are protected in the ways that they should be before we start building on top other things.
Absolutely. So you may want a limited engagement with someone, or you may want a truly comprehensive engagement. The problem is that all advisors do not have the same experience, expertise, or skill set.
Right.
And it's not like we have different color shirts or jackets that we wear or hats.
Or even different titles.
Exactly. If you're licensed,
You can
you're
only
limited.
use certain
You're limited to
titles.
certain titles. If you're not licensed, you can call yourself whatever you want. But finding that needle in the haystack, or as I like to say, finding the blue shirt that's out there is not always so easy. One thing you want to also consider is, how do you want to be communicated with? This is extremely important.
And you know what? Just yesterday we had not an issue, but it came up that we always assume that our clients would like phone calls first. We have a question, we'd like to do something, we want to see you, we want to give you a call. Well, we gave this individual a call, left a voicemail, and we got an email back that says, I prefer to communicate by email. That way I have everything written down. I'm more on my email more frequently, and I can understand what you're saying. You can understand what I'm saying better. And I thought that was perfect because I wrote back and copied our assistant in and said, we really appreciate that. We're going to make that note. So from now on, when we want to reach out to you, we're going to start with email.
What's interesting is that as the vaccine is being rolled out,
Mm-hmm.
the number of Zoom interactions we're having is dropping like a stone. At least
Number
for
of
me.
phone appointments is not, though.
Right. I mean, we're still seeing people by phone, but we're not seeing people Zoom.
Yep.
especially on the new side or even with the client side, they rather do it by telephone or, in your case, as you discussed.
Right, by email, things like that, which I think it was like the initial shock of not being able to see everyone. And honestly, I miss seeing the clients. It's nice when they come in and visit with us. But until then, also sometimes it's not a hassle to use the Zoom, but it's like, we could just do this by phone, just call real quick. I had nothing to see here. Yeah. Don't want to brush my hair.
Exactly. And that really gets to the how often do you want to visit? How important is it to you? Is it a once a year, twice a year, 3 times, 4 times, whatever? In our case, I can tell you that we prefer to see folks at least twice a year.
And also that means from your side, if you do not want to be pestered, if you consider it being pestered,
right,
maybe that's not the type of relationship that you would like. But from our perspective, in order to continue to maintain a valuable relationship with you, we have to know what's going on so we can help adjust accordingly. Right. And so twice a year seems like a good sweet spot. Fortunately, most of our clients reach out, whenever they want to chat, and we like that. Or they have questions, they have other things come up in their lives. It's not just a twice a year thing. And that was, I think that's one of the nice things that's come from this whole pandemic, which is that I feel like we hear from the clients quite a bit more about individual things as opposed to them feeling like they have to write all their questions down, have it ready to go for their twice-a-year visit, even if we don't set that expectation. Now it's like, have a charitable contribution question. Just give Jeff and Aaron a quick call. I think it's great.
Yeah, I mean, honey, the only thing I can add to that is the greatest joy in my day is sitting with clients. I love sitting with them, whether it's on the telephone or whether it's in person, and it's
great.
Being invited into somebody's life is really the way that we see our relationship with folks is extremely important. So keeping up with them,
it's fun.
It's fun.
It is fun.
And the truth is that especially because of the pandemic, and frankly, we also just got past the last part of the year, which seems to be
going on forever.
Right. Is that we've had some laughs, but we've also had some cries.
Right.
And people pass away. We've had some, even this last week, we had one of my friends, friend and client for many years, and it's just sad for anyone that's losing someone. And, as far as, we try to, let's be honest, we try to go to every funeral. We try to, because these people pay us, and it's a respectful thing for them and their family.
But not only that, they become...
we want to.
They truly become family to us. We see you several times a year. We know all of the joys and a lot of the sorrows that go on in people's lives.
And the dirt.
Yeah, and we get to hear all the good stuff.
Exactly.
So we feel like they become part of our family. We certainly hope they feel like they've become part of ours.
Absolutely.
Oh, my goodness.
And they get to hear some more Aaron stories, which I always enjoy doing.
Before we go on.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My understanding is if you work for a small company of 25 or less and you have a spouse that is reaching 65, it is the insurance company's decision on whether they go on to Medicare or stay on the company medical plan. First question, would it be, is that correct? So it's not that the insurance company gets to decide if you go on Medicare or stay on the plan. If you work for a company that has less than 25 employees, the insurer has the ability to decide if they are the primary payer or the secondary payer.
Yes.
Which means if they stay the primary payer, you do not need to take Medicare. If
they just charge the heck out of you. Or the employer.
Right. If Medicare does become the primary payer, then you may decide not to stay on the plan, but you do have to take Medicare. Now, the second question would be, is it a case by case, or is it a universal decision for all employee spouses? So it is not a case by case basis. Each insurance company has already predetermined that decision.
Yes.
And you would want to call the insurer directly, give them your plan information, and say, my spouse is turning 65. Who is the primary payer when she turns 65?
And your HR specialist at your company should have already figured this out. That's their job, because they're going to be.
Yes, but if you're
the insurer's going to contact
proactive,
them and say, the insurer's going to say, "Oh, by the way, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to charge you, that your employee needs to actually do something or not do something, right?
That is correct.
Which is good. But that was a great question.
That is an important question.
I'll bet you're going to get a phone call on that.
And I'll have to say the same thing.
I know that you will, but who knows? That could have been one of our, because we do work with many small companies in their healthcare.
Yes.
Making their healthcare decisions, which is also kind of fun. So, and I guess the last thing is, I think it's important to know is how do I pay my advisor?
Oh, yeah. While you're interviewing advisors, you might want to find out how they charge you.
And they'll tell you, because if they are truly an advisor, they're
a
required,
registered investment advisor representative.
They have to disclose their fee. You have to sign off on that fee. And what happens is
you also get to see that fee on your statements.
Exactly. So advisors are proud to tell you how they're paid because they're required to. If you're working in a brokerage transactional relationship, that isn't something that's required. And
FINRA and the SEC do a very nice job of helping you do your homework on whomever you're going to visit. You can go on to brokercheck.org and take a look at any individual that you're looking at. They'll tell you.
Just put that in your browser, brokercheck, and
also the other thing is that if you are going to an individual's website, like let's say you go to jblfinancial.com, BrokerCheck pops up
at the bottom of the page.
That's right, on any registered investment advisor's website, representative's website. It is a requirement by FINRA that BrokerCheck be on there. So that could be your first clue.
Yeah, FINRA, again, is the financial industry self-regulatory agency that oversees the activities and the compliance issues for people that are advisors or brokers.
Right, so that could be your first clue if they are a registered investment advisor representative.
And again, if you were coming in to visit for a coaching session, of course, we'd love to see if you are within 5 years of retirement or really getting ready to retire.
We have a little homework for you.
That's right. We're going to send you a list that says, bring us your last income tax return.
Your payroll stub.
An up-to-date copy of all your investment statements, pension statements, and Social Security statements.
If you happen to have a will or a trust, or both.
We'd also like to find out, we want to know about your loan balances, your loan maturities, and actually what the payment amounts are so we can factor those into your game plan.
Any other exotic products that you might have, insurance contracts, annuity statements.
Life insurance, annuity statements, right.
Life insurance on your grandchildren.
Plus also stuff like you have a family farm.
Oh, yeah.
Outside business interest, real estate, etc.
Or a company, a real estate business of sorts, or things along those lines.
Because after listening to the show, that the first thing we're going to talk about is cash flow.
Right. So we also have a couple-page financial questionnaire that we ask that you fill out, gives us a little information about you, helps us be prepared for when we chat.
Exactly. And if you're doing it by Zoom, which some folks do,
or by phone, we ask that you get that back to us. We've made the forms all fillable for you, meaning you can type right into them, which is very nice. But the girls in the office, Kelly and Missy, have become very adept at helping to get those things either electronically, or we just drop you an empty envelope in the mail with a return envelope that's already stamped and addressed, so we can get that back. So we can be prepared.
And we do need those statements. So if we're able to take a look at your situation, we can really answer and give you some answers and really begin to draw out and do your game plan.
It becomes your game plan.
Yes, it does. And at the same time, at the end, we always like to talk about your goals, your dreams.
Right, so you might want to be prepared in thinking about, how much income do you need to maintain your current lifestyle? What are you not doing that you wish that you were? What are you doing that you wish that you weren't, aside from working, maybe?
What other things will you require capital to take care of, to pay for, non-recurring type of things? And
what potential things do you see for down the road that could be pitfalls? You don't know.
Exactly.
That kind of thing.
And obviously, we're talking about 3 levels of planning. While I'm both, if you have a spouse, while together. In terms of income planning while you're alive, what happens when I pass away, and what if I become chronically ill? Those are the 3 basic platforms we're going to be addressing in coaching sessions. And you know what they are, folks? They're fun.
No cost.
They're free. No obligation. at our offices currently in Clayton while the New World headquarters is being
constructed,
remodeled, and having fun with that. But it's easy to do today. You don't need to wait for that. You can always give us a call, 314-863-0008. Again, 314-863-0008, or visit our website, jblfinancial.com, and click on the Contact Us section. See you next week.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the Retirement Coach. We'll be back next week at 10 a.m. here on the Big 550 KTRS.
From